A busy trade deadline so far that only expects to get busier as we get closer to Friday's deadline. We talk about the Wild's move so far, what they may also do before the deadline, and some big bombshell trades throughout the NHL as well. All coming up on today's special trade deadline primer episode of Locked on Wild.
You're Locked on Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a special trade deadline primer edition of Locked on Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked on Wild your number one listen every single day of the week. Just a reminder, you can find Locked on Wild on all of your favorite podcast platforms, absolutely free of charge. On today's primer edition of Locked on Wild, we'll talk all things trade deadline with the moves the Wild have made so far, who stays, who goes, Minnesota Wild edition, plus what happens to the Los Angeles Kings and Jonathan Quick. We'll talk about all that here today. My name is Seth Topal, your daily Minnesota Wild insider. We got the whole band together here today. We've got Alex Micheletti, Zach Zeman, and Charles Stuart joining us here. The full cast of characters had to go big for the trade deadline. Fellas, thanks for joining, and it's been a crazy deadline already. Let's just start with maybe the move that has surprised you the most so far. Alex, which one has surprised you the most to this point in the deadline?
The one that just dropped, Jacob Chychrun falling in the laps of the Ottawa Senators, and the Ottawa Senators are building something really special now. They have Thomas Chabot back there, Jake Sanderson, and now Jacob Chychrun. That's a heck of a decor going, and up front, they have a lot of good young talent, Tkachuk and Batherson and DeBrincat and Josh Norris. Names go on and on there. So that's gonna be a team to watch out for in the future here.
Yeah, it is a savvy move by the Senators, taking advantage of Arizona panicking after the deal falling through with the Los Angeles Kings. Zach, which trade so far has been the biggest surprise for you?
I'll say, Jonathan Quick. It's kind of like a shocker. I don't even know. I think growing up watching hockey, Jonathan Quick was the guy for the Los Angeles Kings. Like, everything about the Kings revolved around Jonathan Quick. And just to see a guy who's been there forever go away for basically nothing and then flying home with the team after they lost, and then the PR not handling it well. It's just kind of like a weird situation. And I don't know. I mean, he's just a staple of my childhood. I know that looking up to him as like this is what a good goalie is. And then you just let him go for basically nothing. And I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Definitely kind of a little shock.
Team didn't like it at all. So this is one to bookmark, because if you're looking for a trade that can mothball a season.
Yeah. And they've been great. Like, I love watching the Kings. The whole thing was, they had no goaltending, but like, you get rid of Quick like that. I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense. Clearly they're trying to make something happen. They got a good team. But we'll see how this trade affects them moving forward for sure.
Charles, biggest one for you.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what Zach said, I was really shocked with the Jonathan Quick move. I feel like he was disrespected, and we'll dive into a little bit later, but it's just kind of a scummy move. And like Zach said, their PR just kind of, I think Instagram and Twitter just tweeted out like 2 lines, like a sentence, like, "Hey, you did so much for me, thank you," or for us, thank you, and that was about it. Like,
oh boy, yeah, that is dicey, but I mean, we've had a ton of trades already, and we're all keeping an eye on our phones right now, just waiting for the next trade to happen, because it sounds like Pittsburgh is trying to clear some cap space to do something. I'm going to just take the general approach of Vancouver so far, because I don't know what their overall plan is with the deadline. I mean, they just sent out some picks to acquire a higher level prospect. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, and they're going to be judged on the return for Brock Besser or JT Miller if those guys get traded. I mean, you could say Arizona too for what they allowed to happen to Chychrun, but I don't know. Just some weird trades, including Marcus Johansson to the Minnesota Wild, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Actually, let's go to it right now. Let's just go around the room, starting with Marcus Johansson. Thumbs up or thumbs down, fellas? What do we think? Zach, Marcus Johansson to the Minnesota Wild. Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm saying thumbs up. Do you want me to explain, or should we just all give
you can elaborate a little bit.
I just think it's unique to bring back a guy who's been on your team already, and he kind of just like is familiar with the team. You know, I think we had what was it, the 20th anniversary year or whatever? Something like that. But hey, he's back. He's quick. We've all seen what he can do. He's familiar with these teammates. Kind of an interesting move. Bringing him back, see what happens. Playoff push time. Let's go.
Charles, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I'm down on this one. I'm going to be honest. I read it and I wasn't really happy. If I'm correct, it was for a third or something like that.
Next year's third.
Yeah, so I thought that was overpaying. I didn't really care for his stint with the Wild the first time around. And I just bringing back a player I thought was, I don't want to say a failure, but that didn't produce. Like, if we're going to do that, might as well get Victor Rask back. And then it's a slippery slope. And then, yikes.
Alex, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Well, I need the gladiator thumbs down.
I love it.
In the graphic in. Yep. We've seen this movie before. I said that on Twitter too. We don't need a sequel. I don't know. It's just an interesting. I mean, he didn't do too much here, and he was hurt, and he's been hurt this year too. So who knows if he can stay healthy? We did acquire two guys that have health issues, but I don't know. If he can get Boldy going, hooray! I mean, we've been waiting. Like we talked about pre-air, Boldy hasn't scored in a month. So that's when you're paying the guy, or gonna be paying the guy, a huge contract. You want him producing, like they invested in him. It's not working right now, but it's clearly, he's got the talent to take over. He just needs the help on his line, which, he hasn't been getting the best, teammates on his line.
No, whether it be Marcus Foligno or any other guys that just have not been able to handle that role. It is going to be interesting. I'm right about here right now, and I look at it this way. If you are trying to signal to the team that you're making some moves to just kind of try to jolt the roster while also looking at getting some guys off the roster, you're trying to shake things up. If this ends up being a supplementary move to something else that happens between now and the deadline, then I could be convinced to kind of come back up this way. But if this is it, and Marcus Johansson is your new second line wing until Gustav Nyquist gets healthy, then I'm probably here. So
can I get a rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just say we have all noticed Boldy, he's not producing the numbers after putting the pen to the paper. I'll take getting him a new line mate to see if something works. I think it's really just a third rounder and a couple years away. It's really not like a price, like a terrible price according to the Lightning. So I don't know. You might as well just try something new. Boldy is clearly a centerpiece of this team. I mean, there's a lot of struggles visibly out there, but hey, everyone slumps, and I think it's interesting to get to just tell a team, hey, we're making moves. We'll see what happens, but Boldy needs a new guy, and I think if that works out, then it's sure. But if not, then okay, we didn't really pay much anyway. So
yeah, I like that. I like that notion, and especially if you end up with the prices that have been paid before this deadline, just insane.
Yeah.
If you end up pushing some players off the roster between now and the deadline, you're going to get some assets back. And so you end up breaking even, potentially coming out ahead, depending on the return. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Let's talk Gustav Nyquist. Same thing. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Zach, what do you think?
Oh, man. I don't know. It's all about if he's going to come back in time for the playoffs. I'm going to say in the middle because I don't know. This isn't a good comparison, but the Fleury trade, and then they start Fleury when he comes to the playoffs just because they traded for him and they all know he's good in the playoffs and stuff like that. But this is kind of like giving those same vibes to me. You bring in Gustav Nyquist, who might only be healthy playoff time. And I feel like if you make this trade, you're going to want to start him. So, and then that just only makes roster moves right before the playoffs start, which if you're as good as the Wild are right now heading into the playoffs, you probably don't want to make any. But because you traded for him, it kind of feels forced that you kind of want to make those moves. I just hope it works out. I mean, he's injured. He had a weird high stake against Spurgeon, sure. But, hey, I mean, it's clear this team's trying to make something happen. They're bringing in a veteran. And, it's Gustav Nyquist. What can happen? We'll see.
Alex, where are you at?
Yeah, I really like him. Hopefully it's the Wild's version of Nikita Kucherov and just having him come in for the playoffs and be the leading scorer in the playoffs. He's always been an intriguing player. He has speed. He's the complete opposite of JVR, which was the hot rumor. This team needs speed. They don't need to get any slower, especially with the struggles 5-on-5. So I'm glad they got him. Hopefully he's okay to play. I mean, shoulder injuries are you never want to mess around with those. Bill Guerin said he's Nyquist is he knows his body. He's confident that he can get back. So. He said it was a risk they were willing to take, and they didn't really give up much for him. And, they gave up the pick that they got from Minnesota Wild legend Dmitry Orlov. So, can't wait for that tribute video too. So, I like it. That's an intriguing move. We'll see what happens.
As long as they put Sarah McLachlan, I will remember you as the background track. We're set, because you got to do one for Ryan O'Reilly. You got to do one for Dmitry Orlov. Otherwise, what's the point of a tribute video? Like, come on. Let's just get it right here. Charles, thumbs up, thumbs down. Gustav Nyquist.
I'm thumbs up. I've got no qualms with the move. Like Alex said, he's a speedy guy. I believe he can help us on the PP and the PK, which we always need help with. The Wild will never turn away help on either of those. So if he can really show up, I just don't want him to rush into anything. Maybe not take as much time as Carl Towns is to get back from his injury, but if he can come back and be full 100% in the playoffs or even before, I've got no strong qualms against that.
I'm right here because let's think about this. So power play number 2. If you are bringing in anybody that is going to take like 80% of that second power play unit off the ice, it's a win. Like it's pretty low risk. I mean, obviously you gave up a pick if he doesn't play. If he does make it back, then you just kind of threw a pick away. But I think it's a scrappy veteran move that is going to help just sort some things out. And so I'm mostly thumbs up with the ability to go full thumbs up if he gets us to the conference finals. So we'll see, because there's some work to do to get to that point. Now,
a little bit overdue.
A lot bit overdue. We've got some names that have been linked to the Minnesota Wilds, and so we're going to play a little game when we come back, talking about the potential for those players to find their way here. We'll also play stay or go for several members of the current Minnesota Wild roster. All of that is coming up after this on today's special trade deadline primer edition of Locked On Wild. Today's episode of Locked on Wild is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The midway point of the NHL season has come and gone, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the goal scorers to the number of saves for the goalie. You name it, they've got it. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Locked On. Continuing today's trade deadline primer edition of Locked On Wild. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, make sure you check a deadline special for Locked On NHL, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, keeping track of all the biggest trades throughout the NHL. Seth Topal joined by the full Locked On Wild crew here today. Zach Zeman, Alex Micheletti, and Charles Stuart all joining us. Gentlemen, let's look at some of the names that have been linked to this Minnesota Wild team with what we know now, also with the potential for something to happen that throws everything completely out of whack between now and Friday. Let's keep going with thumbs up, thumbs down. I always liked heads up, 7-up as a kid. Let's just keep going thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's start with the one that Alex just talked about, James Van Riemsdyk, who has been linked to like 12 different teams. Thumbs up, thumbs down as to the possibility of him finding his way to Philadelphia. Alex, where are you at? Finding his way to Minnesota.
Oh, I'm thumbs down. I mean, I've always liked JVR. He's a great locker room guy. But at this point in his career, I don't really see the fit. He's been a good power play guy, but I don't know. The Wild power play has actually been one of their strengths right now, and I don't really see the fit right now with him.
Charles, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm definitely down. Maybe not full down. I mean, I would need to see what our return or what we're giving up in return for that. If we can steal, quote unquote, steal him away for something very, very cheap, or maybe he helps us with getting get someone like Dumba or Greenway off our behinds, then I'd be okay with that. But I'm not super high on him. He's just I think he's a turtle. I think he's a slow man.
Yeah,
that's a good call. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't see it really a fit. Kind of what Alex said. If I don't know, I kind of feel like if they wouldn't have gotten like other guys if they were looking for JVR. I don't know. I just feel like it's slow. Like I say, I mean, like everyone's saying, I just don't see a fit. You already got 2 guys. I don't think JVR is the next one in.
I'm in full agreement. So yeah. Brock Besser. He's been linked to the Wild forever. A lot of hurdles to make this happen, but it sounds like Vancouver is working the phones here this week. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen here within the 48 hours before the deadline. Thumbs up, thumbs down on Besser. Charles, lead us off.
He's probably my favorite target for the Wild. I love Brock Besser. I've watched him just on Vancouver since he's gotten drafted. Like you said, it'll take some dancing, maybe a little tiptoeing around. But if Arizona is going to keep making some moves that are a little questionable, if they want to take on some cap space, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I think Brock Besser would be a huge addition for this team, would fit in well, maybe give X some help, Boldy some help. We could have a strong line there.
Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, let's bring the Minnesota boy in. I feel like we've heard his name forever, and nothing's really happened. So bring him home, and maybe he'll help us out. No, I think he's a star. He's a stud. He's got amazing highlights. Like Brock Besser is him, is what they say. Anyway, I think he's great. It would be a fun little like go-getter. Like, hey, let's go. I'm here for a reason. Like a new face. absolute stud. It's not injured anymore, like the other two are. So you might as well get someone who can impact this lineup pretty quick. And I think it would be a move that would definitely have to have some active Wild members be sent away. And I think, we've heard rumors about Dumba and Greenway and everyone, and just like, I don't know, if you're going to make it happen, you got until Friday. So you might as well pull some strings if you really want to make this move. Go for it. I'm not too opposed of bringing them in at all.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I would love it. I don't know what Vancouver's up to. You don't know what that franchise is. It's been a nightmare for everybody there. So it's tough to judge his production. Elias Pettersson is having an incredible year. I don't know how he's doing it with all the drama that's happened there, but I think Brock just needs to get out of Canada. If it's not here, looks like Pittsburgh might, either Pittsburgh looks like they're trying to get one forward from Vancouver. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be JT Miller? I don't know. I don't know if JT Miller meshes well with Sidney Crosby. So, but who knows? Jim Rutherford was in Pittsburgh before this, so that makes sense why they're rumored to be making a deal with them. They picked up Hronek, which made no sense today for them. Who knows with Vancouver? They've made some awful trades recently. When they were getting Oliver Ekman-Larsson, probably the worst contract in the NHL right now. They're paying him for years, and Arizona's still paying him too. So you can't make that up. I'd love to have Brock here. I don't know if it will happen. It just seems like it will never happen, but we'll take it if it does.
Crazy out of the box take for me to finish this off. Would it be crazy for Bill Guerin to get involved if talks with Pittsburgh and Vancouver advance for Besser? Because Pittsburgh's going to have to clear some salary. And if they're getting rid of a forward to make room for him, maybe that's a way to get somebody on the last year of their deal that they would need to move. And you say, hey, we will broker, and by broker, I mean we'll just take on this person. I keep saying Jason Zucker because Michael Russo floated it. Now I can't get it out of my head. But I don't know. The other one, and I'm putting this in for my own selfish reasons because I like to think that I have been the utmost authority on this happening. Max Domi. 2 thumbs up. Let's make it happen. Let's swing a deal. Let's make that happen. Let's move on to the who's leaving portion. And so we'll just go staying or leaving with key components of this Wild roster that have been rumored to be potentially on the move for quite some time. Let's start with Matt Dumba.
The GOAT.
The straw that stirs the drink. Alex, staying or leaving Matt Dumba?
Man, I don't think they're gonna trade him. I don't think there's interest. If there was interest, teams have backed off. And Ottawa was one of them that was really interested in him, and they just traded for Jacob Chychrun. And then Edmonton was also interested in Dumba. They just got Matthias Ekholm from Nashville. So, I don't really know. There isn't a whole lot of other teams out there that would want him. So, just by default, I think he's going to stay. The Wild at some point have to make room for Brock Faber, which is going to be interesting to see what they do with that once he signs. Hopefully they go first, win a national championship. So we'll see.
Not if St. Cloud State has anything to do with it.
Yes.
Zach, Matt Dumba, staying or leaving?
Yeah, Alex took it out of my mouth. I think it's just he's gonna stay. I don't know. There's just nothing. I don't see any anymore. It's been rumored for years, and we've talked about this several times. And every time we're like, he needs to go. He's got to go, and clearly it's not working. But hey, it's should have been done by now, I think. You got 2 days. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's gonna stay. We'll ride it out for the year and see what happens.
Charles, you agree?
Yeah, I'm beating the dead horse here. I mean, we're not going to get anything for him, whether it's a half-eaten bag of potato chips, and there's just no value on the table for him. It's just rough. We're just going to have to wait until his contract expires.
It is super ironic that of all the seasons in which there have been Matt Dumba trade rumors, that his last season here is the one that he gets through, when it's like you either get something for him or he's gone. I'm in agreement. I don't think he's going anywhere. Most likely, probably too, though, is Jordan Greenway. Are we in agreement that Greenway is on his way to, I have to do it, greener pastures?
I mean, he's another guy just like Dumba. I just don't think the interest is there.
Zero
I mean,
value.
we couldn't even we couldn't pay teams to take him. The only team that I can think of that I've mentioned it a couple times on Twitter is Jordan going back to San Jose with David Quinn, who was his college coach at Boston University, and Mike Greer also went to Boston University. So maybe that Terrier connection, but it doesn't make much sense. Well, other than maybe Chuck Fletcher would take him on just for a draft pick. But
I don't know.
Since they drafted him, but
I don't know if Chuck Fletcher would have much of a tenure left if he gave up a high-level draft pick for Jordan Greenway, but we'll see. Everybody, Zach, Charles, are you guys in agreement that Greenway's going?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I feel like the only asset he has is size, and if people want size, then sure, but I don't think he's got much other than that. It's pretty tough to watch, but hey, the grief line, it's been a thing. I mean, hey, you never know. I think it's a good, consistent line to just walk into the playoffs with.
Hey, he got his first point in a month yesterday.
Yeah.
On a Ryan Reeves goal.
Oh my!
The baseball goal.
What kind of a bizarro world scenario was that, where he had Ryan Reeves with the goal?
Greenway to Reeves.
Just like
that's how he breaks his scoring streak.
Exactly.
Unbelievable attitude. The other two that I wanted to mention, because I think these are interesting because they're not maybe necessarily on the radar. First is Marcus Foligno. Do we think there's any chance that Foligno gets dealt here at the trade deadline? Zach, what do you think?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like this is a guy who's you just got to ride it with. I mean, I don't know. He's been like, he was our bruiser before Reeves got here, and then Reeves kind of took away his. I don't know. He's like, what? Foligno's not supposed to fight anymore, kind of thing. I don't know. I've always been a fan of Foligno. I think he's just like a behind the scenes guy. He's good. I think he's good in the locker room. He's got a good family, and they've been here for a little bit. And I think it's just like, I don't know. I'm so happy I'm not a GM, and I just get to talk about this all the time because I'd be so torn. I think he's been just like a good staple in a Wild sweater, and I think me as a fan speaking, I think I'd be kind of sad to see him go. But if the deal's there, the deal's there, and it really just depends on how much the Wild are willing to do at the end of the day to switch things up heading into the playoffs.
Breaking news.
No way.
Not wild related.
Okay.
Wrap your heads around this. Tom Wilson.
No way.
Pittsburgh.
No way. No way.
For who or what?
No, they're joking, but Granlund just got traded to Pittsburgh. That's the move Pittsburgh just did.
Oh my goodness. So I got had by a fake account, so that's fun.
No, not a fake account. It's just a former player that Pittsburgh would never trade Tom Wilson to a rival, but
I didn't want to have
why
to
I
do
was going nuts.
I didn't want to have to do the crying Jordan meme. So
Granny for a second round pick though. That's
yeah.
I don't know why, because Pittsburgh's not going to make the playoffs. Probably not. Well, maybe they think they still can with a move like this, but
Jeez.
Granlund's player card. That is a 4% right there in terms of projected WAR percentage. Which
there goes the Vince Carter, David Poile. I got one more in me.
Yeah.
Boy, Nashville has just torn it down.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up on Foligno, and then we're going to move on and talk about some bigger trades throughout the entirety of the NHL. I don't know that Foligno happens at the deadline, but I think the Wild are getting to a point with guys like that where they're going to have to make some decisions, because Foligno at 3.3 right now, I think it's going to be tricky in a couple of years. And so do you cut early to get something back in return? We'll just have to see. And I think the other guy that kind of had drawn some rumblings was Ryan Hartman, but I think with the stretch that he's had on the top line over the last 10 or 12 games, I think has moved him out of that trade discussion potential, because he has really started to contribute again on that top line. So those are about the only ones. We're going to dunk on the Los Angeles Kings for what they did to Jonathan Quick, as well as talking about some of the other big trades that have happened as well, when we finish today's trade deadline primer edition of Locked On Wild after this. No matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through life-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes looking for a job all in one place so easy, because you have companies coming to you for positions they need filled. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Final segment of today's trade deadline primer edition of Locked On Wild. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. For those that listen to Locked On Wilds, make sure you are following all 4 Twitter accounts that you see here, as we keep you up to date on all things Minnesota Wild throughout the rest of deadline week and throughout the rest of the push to the playoffs. Okay, so Jonathan Quick traded to Columbus without really any sort of advanced warning. I will give credit, though, to Columbus, because they seem to be handling this situation about as well as you could, in saying we're going to try to do right by him and send him somewhere else that is in contention for a playoff spot. Do we think Jonathan Quick goes to a contender before the trade deadline is up? Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, if he doesn't get traded, I could see him just retiring, because there's no way he wants to play for Columbus. I mean, you're going from the beach to the Midwest in Ohio. That's just it's a complete, change. He was with the LA Kings for 16 years, and he won multiple cups with them, and he was one of the main reasons why they won those cups. it's just it's a dirty way for him to go out, to the worst team in the league. It just makes no sense. I know they just did it as a favor to, so that trade, would work. But I hope they can get him to Vegas, or, Calgary could use some could use some goaltending. Toronto maybe, because Matt Murray's still hurt. But Vegas seems like the ideal landing spot, just because Logan Thompson, and I don't know if you trust in Nathan Hill in the playoffs. So we'll see. And Brisson just got hurt too. It seems like every goalie gets hurt when they get called up. So it's dire straits right now for the Vegas Knights goaltending situation.
Very dicey situation. Zach, what do you think about the whole Jonathan Quick thing?
I'm gonna put this in wild terms. This reminds me of, Fleury was bouncing around, and then Fleury went to Chicago, and they were a dumpster fire, and then they sent Fleury up here because the Wild were contenders. You got a multiple win goaltender in Fleury coming to a team who wants to win one bad. And you got Jonathan Quick, who's won multiple cups, and he wants to, he's on a dumpster team right now. And I think if they get moved, it'll just be like one of those scenarios, a rental for the playoffs, and a vet, someone who could, hopefully make you run a little bit. It didn't really work out for the Wild, but hey, I think Jonathan Quick can do it. Like, why not? I think it'd be good to see him on a good team. The Kings have been just like kind of mediocre for a little bit now. And I think if you give Jonathan Quick one last good shot at it before retirement, maybe, hey, why not?
Well, and you could get Columbus to retain some of that salary. I don't know what he's making this year. I'm sure it's around 7 or 8. But you could get them to retain and send him somewhere that's a little more cap strapped. Charles, let's get one more Duncan on the Kings. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I read this, I was thinking that the Kings took a page out of Vancouver's book with the disrespecting of Bruce Boudreau. I mean, I was like, this is just unacceptable. To damn someone to go play for the Blue Jackets. It hurts. It hurts me personally, and I mean, that's rough. I think he's got to be turned around and sold somewhere to a contender, because as of right now, I was sitting there and I'm still a little shocked by it, because he's been there for so long and did so many good things. And like I mentioned earlier, just that it wasn't even given like a video or a tribute. It was just kind of like, you were good.
I
toss to the side,
literally, yeah.
Unbelievable. I like a lot of what the Los Angeles Kings Twitter account does, team account, but we gotta do a little better than a couple of sentences for Jay Quick. So just bad news. Just wrapping up what we have seen so far for the trade deadline, and obviously was going to kind of lean towards Jacob Chychrun before he was traded, but there are still a couple of big fish left. But we'll just leave with this. Do we think that Vancouver moves one of Brock Besser and JT Miller, both of Brock Besser and JT Miller, or neither before the deadline? Zach, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like JT Miller or Brock Besser has always been there. Especially for the Wild. But hey, I don't know. I don't know. I will admit I know nothing about Vancouver's spot right now. But just I don't know. I'm trying to connect everything to the Wild. Brock Besser's the guy though. He's talked for a while and there's only left. But they got to hurry up if they want to. If they want to get rid of them both. But hey, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I have a good opinion on this.
Oh dear, I'm reacting to comments on the Jacob Chychrun trade by Coyotes GM Bill Armstrong.
It's not good, man. It's not good.
Nowadays, with the salary cap, as much as the Coyotes have made out from a flat cap, it also makes it hard to do deals because it's money in, money out with a lot of teams. To escape with no money taken back was huge for us.
They're a poverty franchise. We talked about it. They have fossils that they're paying that aren't even playing hockey anymore. They have Shea Weber. He hasn't played. They're paying Patrick Kane, who will never play for them. It's just, oh man, you can't make it up with that franchise. I feel it really is embarrassing.
Jeez.
It starts with the two logos on the center ice. It just starts there.
Yeah.
You got the pitchfork and then the coyote. It just starts there.
And just the wording too, to say that you escaped the Jacob Chychrun trade with no money retained.
Yeah. Problems.
Get them to Houston or get them to a bigger market. Like seriously,
Go to Atlanta. Get the Thrashers back in here.
Hartford. Get the Whalers back in. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Hartford Whalers merch. I'm in. Just gotta
Most slept on logos in NHL history.
Oh, just some heat from the Hartford Whalers. Gentlemen, this has been a blast. Obviously, we've got up until the trade deadline for things to happen, and so we'll all be keeping an eye on how things go here throughout the deadline to see what the Wild do, what everybody else does, and I guess now what the Arizona Coyotes do to try to top this with Jacob Chychrun. So, listeners, make sure that you stay tuned in to Locked On Wild as we navigate through the rest of the trade deadline, through the rest of the season, and as Dallas continues to stockpile overtime losses like they're going out of style, continuing to cruise up the standings right there with Colorado as well. We've got you covered with new episodes, pre- and post-game content, so follow us on YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. New episodes every Monday through Friday, and then a ton of other places as well. All part of the Locked On Podcast Network.